A man from a few blocks away had been viciously murdered. His body was in his room, fully dismembered, as if he had been attacked by a horde of hyenas. Nobody was seen entering his apartment that day, so the police were completely clueless as to what they should do. The neighborhood was in a sudden state of inevitable unrest, but things eventually calmed down after a few weeks since there were no more cases similar to that, so there was no serial killer on the run. They might have run away or something, at least that's what the neighbors chose to believe. That way they could find solace and move on with their lives. One day at around 10 p.m. as I was going to the convenience store to get some late-night snacks, I saw a gloomy-looking woman sitting on a bench by herself. She was leaning slightly forward and looking down with her hands on her knees, and her hair was covering her eyes, so I couldn't tell if she was sleeping or not, so I figured I would go check if she was okay. As I came close enough to her and was about to say something, I heard her say very quietly 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, which I found kind of weird, but just ignored it and told her it's very late, you should go home. The street can get dangerous at night. She then suddenly smiled, a very wide and borderline evil-looking smile, then said 2592000259199, 2591998. She was counting backwards from 2.5 million and some change, so I got creeped out and left to go get my food. I met a store worker whom I was friendly with and who was doing some late-night sweeping outside the store. We greeted each other and he told me, "Are you okay? Why were you talking to yourself while looking at that bench over there earlier?" So I said, "What are you talking about?" "There's a lady over," and as I looked over at the bench, she was gone. I was extremely confused, but I excused myself, went to do my shopping, and went home. But for days this specific encounter kept bothering me. Who was she? How did she suddenly vanish? Why was she counting backwards from 2.5 million? I figured she was just some random weirdo and tried to forget about her. But the number 2.5 million stayed in my mind. About a week later, I saw her again as I was heading out at night, but in a different location. She was sitting near the entrance of my apartment building, in the same sitting position, with the same hair that was covering her hair, and the same wide and devilish smile, and since she had gotten me very intrigued, I went to her and asked, "Hey, you're that girl from last time. Who are you? How did you suddenly vanish last time? Why are you counting backwards?" She didn't reply, didn't even acknowledge my existence. She just kept saying 1850771, 1850770, 1850669, and I saw one of my neighbors passing by, so I yelled at him, "Hey. This woman is being hella creepy." I don't know what her deal is, but as I looked back at her, she had disappeared, yet again. She was all I was thinking about for the following days. I was intrigued, creeped out, confused, and most especially, very scared. I was very cautious and paranoid about my surroundings every time I went out at night. I kept looking around for her, not because I wanted to see her, but because I was afraid I'd be caught again by surprise. Yet another week later, after I hadn't seen her in a while and figured she might have been gone, I found her. As I was going up the stairs to my apartment, the lights went off, and she was on top of the staircase, standing this time blocking my way, looking down at me through the mess of hair that was covering her eyes, saying, much louder than usual, 1297010, 1297009, 1297008. I'd had enough. I dashed towards her, grabbed her by her shoulders, and screamed, "Who are you? What do you want from me?" And she just kept counting backwards, completely ignoring me. Then suddenly, the neighbor whose apartment was next to mine came out of his apartment and said, "Why are you screaming, man? I'm trying to sleep. You're making too much noise." And you guessed it, she was gone, again. So I apologized to the guy for being loud, and just rushed to my house. I'd had enough. I didn't know what to do. I was on the verge of breaking down. And what made it worse was that I had noticed a pattern. A month ago she was near the store. A week later she was in front of my apartment complex, another week later she was in the staircase of my apartment complex, so where was she going to be next? Inside of my apartment? So I had made a decision to just never go out at night again, like ever, and made sure to lock my doors and windows very thoroughly whenever it was past sunset. The morning after I had met her for the third time, I went to inquire about certain things. I didn't want to directly tell people that there was a weird woman following me around since nobody would believe me. So instead, amid some usual small talk, I asked a lady from my apartment building whom I knew quite well, by the way, "Have you ever seen an odd lady around the area?" And she said, "Oh, you heard," to which I replied, "Heard what?" So she said that guy who was viciously murdered a few months ago, he had been complaining that he was being followed around by some weird lady who eventually broke into his house, but people thought he was just going insane since they hadn't noticed anything out of the ordinary around him. But what do you know, after he got murdered, the police tried to look for any suspicious lady who could have been following him around for the month before he had passed away, but they didn't find anybody. I dashed back home the exact moment she had finished her sentence. The creepy lady was counting backwards from a little over 2.5 million, so 2.5 million seconds, which, after a quick calculation, would be equivalent to around 30 days, the same time period that the other guy had been complaining about some weird lady following him. So yeah, I was going to die, just like him. I only had 2 weeks left. I honestly didn't have the mental capacity to freak out. I just kept thinking and thinking and thinking about how I would get out of this. The police were obviously not going to believe me, neither were the neighbors, and I didn't want to get my friends and family involved. I spent quite literally the whole day thinking, but to no avail. Then it was nighttime. I dozed off for about half an hour in the living room, and as I was waking up, I could hear some noise coming from my room. My doors and windows were all locked. There was no way it would be her since she only appears once a week, or so I thought. As I opened the door, she was there, standing in a corner of my room, and saying, 1209615, 1209614, 1209613. I didn't run away. I did what any man would think of doing in this situation. I begged her not to kill me. I kept begging and begging and begging, "I know you'll kill me in 2 weeks. Please don't kill me. I beg you. What did I ever do to you? I've never done anything wrong. When we first met I was literally just worried about you and trying to help you. I really don't deserve this. So please don't kill me in 2 weeks as you were planning." She then stopped counting. I got so happy thinking that my cries actually convinced her. But I couldn't be more wrong. She slowly brushed up her messy hair that was covering her eyes. Then she looked at me with some wide-open bloodshot eyes and a smile that had gotten even wider and somehow more devilish. 86400, 86399, 86398, in the midst of being shocked to the point of losing balance, I grabbed my phone out for a quick calculation. 86,400 seconds would be exactly 24 hours. So she did grant my wish. Instead of killing me in 2 weeks, she would do it in 1 day. I tried begging her again, and I spent 1 whole hour doing so, but she didn't flinch, didn't react, didn't even budge when I tried pushing her. She was like an immovable rock, staring at me with the horrifying look I mentioned earlier, and kept counting backwards. 82651, 82,650, 82649, and this time, she did not suddenly disappear, she was still there. I took my car keys and my wallet and bolted out of the house. I couldn't think properly or decisively since fear and despair were eating my body up. All I knew was that I had to run away, as far away as possible. I didn't know how useful that would be, but it's not like I had any other choice. I started my car and drove off, as far away as I could. I drove non-stop for hours and hours. I stopped by multiple gas stations to refill my tank and just kept driving. My car eventually just stopped and wouldn't restart. I don't know where I currently am. I don't know if I'm safe. I don't know when was the last time I've eaten. I don't know what I did to deserve this. But what I know is that there are 2 hours left.